Hello, everybody. This is Jane. I'm live tonight with the wonderful Lakhi Singh. Hello, Lakhi.
Hi, how you doing?
Lakhi is one of our speakers at the fantastic event we've got in January, on the 10th and 11th of January, called the Pocket MBA. So I thought I'd just take some time this evening to have a chat to Lakhi and to get a bit of an advanced preview of what he's going to be talking about. So, Lakhi, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everybody that's watching who you are and what you're all about?
So my name's Lakhi Singh. It's a pleasure to be, first of all, on Jane Bayler's podcast, as well as this live interview. I specialize in property, but my general work that I do is in podcasting and events, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so Lakhi is based in Mayfair and is probably one of the most prolific and well-connected property people that I know. He's got an enormous network and he's always out and about. And so he's going to be delivering a talk on powerful networking, aren't you, Lakhi?
That's right. Well, I have to be careful not to do the whole presentation now. So
That's right.
I'll cover the key points. So I'll be talking about the power of networking and how to be effective in the way you go out and pick up business. So I'll be going into a lot of the technicalities. So improving your chances from, let's just say, a conversion of business from one, let's say 10% chance to a 50-50 chance, or even up to 75% chance. And I'll be getting into lots of technicalities. So it is very simple. So I'll give you all the simple things you need to do, not all the complicated ones. So hopefully you'll have a transformation based upon my detailed information I give you.
That's right, because we were chatting before you came on, weren't we, Lakhi? And I was talking about my case study when I ran my design business and we scaled it really, really quickly. And in fact, we've been talking a bit today, really, haven't we, about that and about other topics. And I was saying that there were two aspects of it that were really important that enabled us to scale up very quickly. And the first one was improving the conversion rate. And the second one was just making sure that we went for premium business. So we're going to talk about improving the conversion rate a little bit. And what Lakhi and I thought would be good to delve into is to the way that you kind of classify and categorize people and change your approach depending on the type of person that they are. So this is something that we talked about in the podcast episode, which is still to be released. But I just thought it would be very interesting for people that are watching in tonight to hear a little bit more about that, Lakhi, about the different types of people.
Well, where it stems from is I went to a training course maybe about 20 years ago on a one-day training course by Fred Pryor. It's a well-established training company on various things to do with corporate sales, corporate management, lots of different topics. And from there, learned about a particular strategy from a gentleman called Mr. Alessandra, which is called Relationship Strategies. And is a full one-day course. And I actually, funny enough, my boss told me that I've got to do a 2-hour presentation to the whole staff. So when I came back, I had to present to 30 people about relationship strategies and how we could be using them to win more business for our international sort of IT department within Deloitte. So that's where it stems from anyway. So tell me a bit more which bits you want me to know, because I know that we want to keep all the juicy bits to the actual day itself.
Okay, so I think we've got to give a bit of a taster, Lakhi. So tell us about the 4 types of people that you might encounter if you're pitching for business.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spice this up a little bit. Jane wasn't expecting this. So,
okay.
So relationship strategies are not only for business. It may be that you're out there doing business networking, but you may want to find love as well. And so this could actually be very helpful.
Yes. Yes, please.
Relationships are not all about just business. It's also about finding your kindred spirit, maybe good friends, people you may want to, be, have similar values with, have maybe, let's say you want to go out and have fun with. It could be anything. So it just doesn't have to be just about love and business. It could be friendship as well. So basically, there's 4 types of characters that you get out there. And for the moment, I'm going to give them 4 names, which I think are very appropriate. One's called a director. The other's called an entertainer. The other one's called a supporter. The other one's called a thinker. So you could probably guess just by the names what type of people they are. So I'll give you a quick example. Director would be somebody who's very much going to be telling you what to do. They're very results orientated. They're saying, so that would be somebody like Sir Alan Sugar. Second sort of person you could say would be, let's say the entertainer would be somebody like Michael McIntyre, who's very entertaining and very chatty, and maybe have a profile of let's just say a typical salesman, not much attention to detail, but very, very chatty, very direct, and very jokey and jovial and not too serious. And then the third type of profile, it would be somebody, let's just say, as a supporter. Supporters tend to be very quietly spoken like this, and they tend to be very gentle, and they tend to be very sweet and nice. They're very loyal people, and they tend to have they tend to be very loyal people, and they tend to be very good long-term friends. So that could be somebody like Amanda Holden from Britain's Got Talent.
Okay.
She's always like, oh, isn't he nice? Oh, I really like him. See, she's always a bit like that, very sort of very soft, very gentle, very sweet in her nature. And fourth, but not last, is the thinker. Thinkers tend to be very type of people that walk into a room and they like to sit in the back of the room. They don't want to be noticed. They like to look at what's going on, observe, analyze, and sort of analysis by paralysis sometimes is their problem. So that's my initial introduction to the personality types. And I think a personality type, or an example of somebody like that, could be somebody who's maybe a scientist, who's very maybe academic, and they like a lot of facts and knowledge and academia. So maybe a professor of sorts could be a thinker type of person. Any ideas of, Jane, can you think of like a good thinker profile? Because I normally use Albert and Einstein, but I'm not sure. He may be a bit of an extrovert as well. I'm not sure.
Actually, I was going to use him because I was thinking of him as well, because if you recall, he was very, very patient. In fact, I was reading a book that referenced him the other day. And of course, famously, he found something like, I don't know, 500 ways that couldn't work before he discovered the light bulb. Or I don't know what the exact number was, but you have to be very, very patient and very persistent and very detail orientated to just work your way through all those different permutations of a problem, don't you? So I think really he's probably a very good example.
Right. And now, well, he is a fantastic example. So how far should I go then in terms of telling everybody a lot more about relationship strategies that may transform their lives? They may find love, or they may actually strike the biggest business deal that they may not be able to comprehend until after my presentation.
Yeah, well, in the trainings that I've done, we've done a lot of personality profiling. I remember when I started at Progressive, we had quite a lot of mindset, and we had some of the psychological profiling that came along with that. So, for example, we did the DISC profiling, which I don't know if you've heard of that, but I mean, there are also 4 profiling types in that type of system. And then, of course, there's wealth dynamics. So there's lots and lots of different personality profiling systems. But I think the key to all of them is that nobody is absolutely one thing or the other. We all tend to be a blend of different attributes, but one of these personality types, or in terms of the system that you were describing, if you think about people in those lines, so one particular type will prevail, and it's quite useful to have a system or a sort of form of signposting, I think, in order to say, that person's one of those, because it then informs your approach, doesn't it? So let's just look very briefly at how you would respond. For example, if you were talking to, let's say, an investor who is of the first type that you described.
Okay, you're putting me on the spot now. Okay, it's quite simple. What you've got to do is what will happen is when we do the presentation, I'll actually tell you the type of style you need to use to deal with the different type of characters, different type of profiles. So let's just say this is an example. You're dealing with Sir Alan Sugar. Tell you 4 or 5 really, really interesting things. So first of all, be very blunt. They don't like thinkers, and they don't like supporters. Automatically, that's a no-no. So if you're going to be quite sort of nice and sweet in business to a director profile, they're going to think that you've got no backbone. You're not going to get any results for them. So that's a no-no. Entertainers, funny enough, which are typical sort of, let's say, salesy sort of type people. Hi, how you doing? I'm ready. Let's talk. They're quite animated. They tend to actually get on fairly well with directors, although they do sometimes get personality clashes if the entertainment profile is also a very strong director. But sometimes you get a blend where you get somebody who's very strong character, and they've also got very soft, nice, supportive skills. So it's not always a bad thing to be the nice guy in business. You can be the nice guy and be direct. So if you've got a bit of both, and if you can stand your ground with directors, then you can still do really well in terms of getting an investment out of a director profile. So a couple of key points in terms of managing a director profile is that they're very results orientated. So if you're going to talk to them, they'll already know what they want. So if you're talking more than for about 5 words or 10 words, and you're not making any sense to them, they'll immediately want to butt in and say, "Look, I don't think you know what you're talking about. Can you just tell me what's going on with this? Because it doesn't make any sense to me." So you've got to be very, very strategic when you're talking to them, and you've got to be
well prepared as well.
Well prepared. And you're going to tell them the results straight away. And if they don't know the results, they can't see it, they're going to switch off within the first couple of seconds.
Yeah. So also, people like people that are like them, don't they? So one of the first principles of influencing somebody is that you have to emphasize the similarities. And of course, you can emphasize the similarities through perhaps some mutual interest, but you also, if you like, ignite those feelings of trust, and allow people to feel as though they have more of a rapport with you if you also mimic their style. So what you were saying is that if you get somebody, like Sir Alan Sugar, for example, so he's incredibly blunt and to the point. So be blunt and to the point back, and then he'll think you're like him, and that he's somebody that can relate to you. So is it partly about adopting, being able to be a bit of a chameleon, do you think? Being an influencer?
I think that's 100% spot on. I think you're also going to be careful that you're not adopting too much, going away from your own style. Because if you're like a natural supporter and you're trying to be direct, you may actually sort of go a bit far from what you're used to, out of your comfort zone. And then if you can't be consistent or congruent after a few questions, they're going to suss you out, and they'll think, okay, well, why is he trying to be so clever for? Why didn't he just sort of be himself? So there's a bit of a balance with that, to be honest with you. But I understand what you're saying. It's important. But if you can carry off being very direct all the way through the conversation with the director profile, then they're really not going to be questioning you, because they'll just think, okay, well, I want to do business with this guy because he's very much in my face. I like that.
But I mean, the thing is, if people that are directors, for example, they need those detail-orientated people in the background, don't they? So, I mean, that's what good teamwork is all about. So they might not necessarily choose to hang out with those people in their free time, but they very much, directors probably really value having those detail-orientated people, those supporters, and they need them around them. It's just, if you're in an environment where you've got all of those people around a table, for example, how do you actually, I'm asking this question for the people that are watching, how do you adapt your style depending on who you're talking to, or are you just yourself? What would you say, Lakhi?
Well, I think in business, I think you've got to be very adaptable, and you can't really be necessarily yourself, because it may actually, you're just not, things aren't really going to work. So when you go into a meeting, a couple of critical points which I adopt as a must, you could say, is that any meeting that I go into, we would actually, as a team, we would actually have a discussion to sort of say, okay, we're meeting with this person. What is it, their profile? What is it they're trying to do? What is it that we need to go with? So a lot of it is about preparation, about what your objective is. The second is, what is it that they want? And is it something that what is it something we're ready to actually give them? Is that something we can agree upon? So it's not always a case that you're going to get what you want, but if you set up your stand, so to speak, early on and say, this is what we're trying to achieve, and you've discussed it beforehand, there's more than a 50% chance that you're going to get what you want, because you're going with a specific objective. So it may not necessarily be part of how you present yourself. It may actually be more that you're prepped in terms of achieving the objective. So you can always just be yourself. And if you're a supporter profile, you may be softly spoken, but if you're representing a business and you know that there's a certain angle that's going to work for the business, so it's not going to stop you winning it. You just probably have to ensure that you're clear about what you're saying, and you can just be a bit more firm. So supporter characters, thinker characters, they can also succeed, because if they use their personality, they've got a knowledge base about something, and this director profile realizes that you've got something that they haven't got, but you've got a lot of knowledge in a particular area, that you also might find that you're going to get a lot of respect from them just on that basis. So there's a couple of counter strategies. So you don't have to feel isolated if you think you're a bit too sweet and too nice in business. It may actually be that you've got the luck, a bit of luck and a bit of charm that that you need when you're talking to these sort of people.
Yeah, definitely. And Lakhi, what just for the people that are watching this evening, I think what would be really interesting to them as well is to actually hear about what it is that your business actually does, because you're a big Mayfair property guy, aren't you? Would you like to just tell everybody what it is who it is that you're representing, and what it is that you develop business around? What is the business all about?
Okay, so that's quite a tough question, because generally I don't always talk about what I do that much on the internet.
Well, just give a little bit.
In terms of the gist of what we do, we're a 20-man company. We work in about 50 horizontals related to property, and we're strong in 4 verticals. So if anybody's not clear about what horizontal, that's horizontal. Verticals is that way. And the verticals that we're very strong on helping people with property portfolios, where we can go in, if you are doing really well, you want to grow your portfolio, we can help you reduce your costs, your tax, your CGT, IHT, stamp duty, these type of things. as well as actually have a sort of very clear business plan. And if you're sort of middle of the road, you've got 10, 20 properties, you're trying to work out which way to go, your direction, we do a lot of appraisals, and we also make an assessment on really how you might want to be tackling any downturn in the market, and maybe taking advantage of your portfolio in terms of using certain equity or tools or cost reduction or strategy. Again, tax solutions apply again there as well. And if you're closer to a lower loan to value, let's just say you're around the 70 to 80% mark loan to value or higher, then we would look at things like end of term issues around your portfolio, like you've had a portfolio for 10 years, but it's coming to an end of term with particular banks, how that's going to affect your portfolio, because you may have some good eggs and some bad eggs. And so we've devised some amazing solutions around debt type issues with end of term. And we've got the ability to write off 95% of your debt if it's negative equity. So let me repeat that just in case anybody didn't get that. We can actually reduce 90%, 95% of negative equity debt so that you can get a clean bill of health and still have clean credit. Now, I wasn't looking to actually say that to anybody.
I know. I mean, it's
not actually something we're going to launch in the next couple of weeks. But you heard it here with Jane Bayler. She's actually a really good sort of Jeremy Paxton type character. She's got the information out of me, you know that. How clever is that? You're clever, Jane.
Oh, well, I think people are interested, particularly our event attendees. They want to know what's your background, what have you done, what are you all about. We've got a mixture of property people and business people at this event, but the property people, all of the property people that we have there, all the speakers, they all have a background in business. It's all about the business of property as opposed to property strategies. So as I say, we work with, the whole event is suitable for property people, but also business people. But I really just wanted to introduce you, get you to say hi, have a little chat about some of the stuff that we've been talking about anyway, and just welcome you really to everybody. So thank you so much, Lakhi, for joining us tonight. It's been great.
Well, it's a pleasure. There was a couple of other 2-3 things that you didn't ask for, but I'm going to give you now as well, now that we're on the topic, because this is obviously live now, but there'll be people can watch this at a later date as well. So there's 4 or 5 things which could be really, really good for anybody out there who's looking to come to the event and learn more. Not only will you find out about networking, obviously you'll meet me. We've got access to maybe something like 15 strategies to pick up properties for your portfolios, which are maybe something like 30 to 70% below market value. Now, although that might sound incredible, I know people that do it on a daily basis, and I know 3 organizations that I'm working with, so we can actually help achieve that. So if you've got a couple of 100 grand lying in the bank and you're looking to purchase, we're happy to help, happy to give a free consultation, and we're pretty keen on actually sharing all those potential acquisitions with clients. We don't buy anything, and so we don't have any interest in them ourselves. So we pretty much act as a consultant, so to speak, for clients. So that could be something really useful for you. So when you come to Jane's event, if you come to Jane's event, then I'm happy to talk to you, because I want to help Jane to be the super smart connector rather than just a smart connector. And we've got a good connection going on. I think we're both trying to work smart with our connections. So I really look forward to seeing all of you down there at the event on the 12th of January. And I think it's going to be a fantastic event. I did tell Jane that I'm only going to be around for a couple of hours, but I am going to try and stay the course if I can for at least one day. So I will be around if anybody's got any questions, need any assistance, property portfolios, consultancy, funding. We do a lot more. So that's, I just told you about 5% of what we do, which is still quite a lot.
That's right. So watch out for Lakhi on LinkedIn, because he has a most amazing LinkedIn page, and he's constantly, of course, being in the heart of Mayfair, he's constantly bumping into all sorts of exciting people, lots of boxers. You've got lots of boxer friends, haven't you, Lakhi?
Yeah, I mean, I just bumped into John Conti today.
Yeah, John Conti, that's exciting.
So
yeah,
I'm going to get a little video out about him, because I've managed to do a little funny video with him where he's saying he wants to have a literal fight with me, as a veteran fight off. So that's quite a good one.
Yeah.
And then Chris Eubanks, met him. I'm trying to convince him to come on my podcast, but obviously he's not an easy man to pin down. Not just in their business, but also,
Lakhi.
Sorry?
You're quite pally with him. I keep on seeing you with him.
That's right. Every time I see him, I said, "Do you know blah blah blah? We know him as well." He goes, "Yeah, I know him as well." Sort of thing. I said, "Oh wow, okay, well, you should just come on my podcast, and we can actually do a bit of PR for you." I don't think it needs any PR, to be honest, but it's more PR for us. So anyway, it's a bit of banter, a bit of fun. So
and we were together at the Verb Rally charity ball, weren't we, Lakhi, earlier on this month, which was incredible fun, wasn't it? So that was a pretty glitzy event, wasn't it?
That's probably one of the best events ever. It was
it's amazing.
Charity dinner, and we met pretty much the whole of Mayfair there.
Yeah.
So anybody that's actually wanting to get into the echelons of Mayfair and or get introduced to some senior people,
Lakhi's your guy.
Well, Jane and I are happy to help. Jane, I'm actually doing an open book with Jane, so any contact she wants in Mayfair, she's always welcome.
That's right.
So I think anybody that wants to join a little group, the happy group, then you're welcome to join the happy group. This is a new group that we just created now.
All right then. Well, listen, it's getting late, and you're still at work, aren't you, Lakhi? Oh my God, you have to go home.
Yeah, I keep on forgetting the time. Actually, I
I know. I have to let you go, so I've kept you at work for far too long. But anyway,
no, it's no problem, because what I say to people, I thought I'd make a joke to them. Said, "What are you doing for Christmas?" I said, "I'm actually working
in the office."
Working, and they say, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm having a holiday, but Christmas is like work. But when I'm actually at work on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, that's more like a holiday. So I'll be working on Christmas Day because that feels like work. But my work is like a holiday anyway."
Well, that's great, isn't it? That's the ideal situation.
Exactly.
All right then, Lakhi. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you at the event. Have a great Christmas. Bye.
Have a great Christmas, everyone. Bye. Thank you for getting me on your show, and look forward to the event.
Yeah, me too.